to Europe. I'm from Texas. I don't know if you guys have been there, but it's a little bit different here. So I actually drove to Italy yesterday and back just to get some pizza because I feel like it's right down the road. It was a short trip, but yeah, it's beautiful here. I'm so thankful to be here and experience this with everyone.
What is it like being a couple hours away from home?
I already said, so we were like driving here yesterday. It was like just a 3-hour drive, and we have a Tesla Model 3 standard range, and we didn't even have to charge for getting here, so it was pretty close by.
Must be nice. So what we have in the background, so Sarah, if you haven't followed her on Instagram, she's, again, the Simple Sarah. Some of her shots are some of the best ones that I personally have ever seen. I think it was actually Yuli from the New Era who mentioned her to me a while back, and I remember Billy, who does amazing drone shots, came with her, and she just takes phenomenal photos. So here's some of them. Would you like to just talk a little bit maybe about your philosophy and potentially even some of these shots?
Yeah, so I have taken Teslas now all over the world, right? Not just North America. This is in Nova Scotia, Canada. I was able to road trip around. Just last year, I did 46,000 miles. So I don't know what that is in kilometers, but probably a lot. But Tesla just allows me, you can see me drifting in this photo. Tesla just allows me to keep it simple. I mean, I can get in, have no keys, and just go wherever I want. I know that I can charge, wherever I go. So having that in my life is just another tool for me. I absolutely love driving my Tesla. I'm honored to drive a bunch of different cars, but driving a Tesla is my favorite. It's like a go-kart. That's what I tell people. It is like an adult go-kart. You can just go have fun, do whatever you want. I have track mode on my Model Y Performance, so if I'm on a road trip, I'll put into track mode, do some donuts, and then continue on my drive. So, yeah, it just allows me to live life more fully because I don't have to worry about, okay, I got to get gas. It's already plugged into the car. I know when to charge. I know how long it's going to take. And usually by the time I go in and grab a drink or something and come back out, I'm ready to go. So, yeah, it's just a lot of fun.
Yeah, what is it about your photography? Like how, first off, maybe we're going to get into this a little bit, but what is it about, so first off, what were you taking photos of before Tesla? And then more importantly, like what is unique about taking photos of Tesla and how you approach it?
Yeah, so I used to work in tech. So a lot of my background is in either luxury or interior design or tech. So getting into the Tesla market, I mean, it kind of translates over. Some people say that Tesla looks like an Apple store, which is perfect because I love the Apple store. It's minimal, it's sleek. I think the design is beautiful, especially now with what we're seeing with the Cybertruck. I think that's going to push design as a whole in the right direction. So capturing, these cars in spaces that people think you can't bring a Tesla to. I've been able to road trip everywhere. Been to the Salt Flats in Utah. There you go. And people think that the battery's just going to die once you get out there. It's not really like that. So capturing those moments for me is really special because it does show people that you can do more than just take it to the grocery store or go visit your friends. You can take it across the country. And that's my favorite part. It's an office space to me. I work in there a lot, or I camp in my car a lot. So it's more than just a car. It's my little capsule that I can bring wherever I want.
What is some of your most favorite shots? Like that you are just, this is iconic for, this might be one, or probably making the donuts was funner.
Yeah,
but yeah, what?
Probably making the donuts. That was in Canada. I was up there for a project and decided to do some donuts. But all of these shots are so special to me because it captures the moment. And it's not like I go out to make these portraits or these pictures. I'm capturing the moment of where I'm at. This was in San Francisco, my first time there. And I got to experience it. So capturing that moment and then having the story behind it, that's what's special to me. So everything here, it's just very special.
Well, awesome. I think, did we want to go on to the next video? So I think Yonas is the next. So Paul, could we put on the next clip? Oh yeah, next.
Und damit hey und willkommen zu diesem neuen Video hier bei Yonas. Und wir schauen uns das Fahrzeug jetzt mal im Detail an.
Wow, it's so incredible just to watch all of these videos and really just see what each influencer is bringing to the table and their unique perspective and how they cover it with their thoughts. But Yonas, so first off, just quickly tell us, what were you? I mean, we met 2 years ago, and your channel has grown significantly since then. But yeah, what were you doing before this? And then what was your kind of Tesla moment to be like, hey, I want to stop what I'm doing and focus on this?
So actually, I just did a apprenticeship in the automobile sector and just did like interior design and things like this. And next to it, I always had the idea of having a smaller YouTube channel, and we did start with tech and with just some smart home stuff. And it was pretty obviously to start with EVs as well. And even though my first EV wasn't a Tesla, but it was always having the idea.
Don't tell us that.
Yeah, you also saw that there are not just only Teslas on our channel, but there was also the idea of having tech on wheels, because for me, cars were never like with combustion engine and the noises and everything. It was more like having the idea of what you can do next to driving it or beyond driving, and especially with electric cars, because every time you're charging, you need to have something special. And even though it's a table inside or it's a good screen or anything, and it was the first moment when I had my own Tesla, it was great going on adventures and having just the opportunity to have like the tech I was always testing on wheels.
What is it that, because there's a lot of, probably even more so now, the amount of creators in the Tesla sphere, probably EV sphere, as we're on this EV revolution, there's so much happening in that space. So what is it that you want to bring to your channel, and how do you bring that unique perspective that literally clearly comes through all that video that we just saw?
Yeah, I think it's pretty good seen in the video, because we are always trying to have a focus on quality and on details, because it's not always just having me in the camera. It's more or less having the details of the car, because that's what matters and that's what the people want to see when they see my videos, I guess. It's not that they always have or want to see me in front of the camera. They want to see the car, and that's special in my videos, I guess, because especially in Germany right now, we have most of the time people just filming themselves, and that's pretty okay. That's an own kind of video they are doing. But in my perspective, it's more like showing the people the car they are thinking about to buy or not thinking about to buy. And that's why it's really into the details and then things we are enjoying or not enjoying over those days we are testing the cars.
Yeah, I think in Europe, it's been, at least for me, I think we all have different perspectives. I think even Beard Tesla, we were talking the other day, but I feel like coming out here to Europe, the ecosystem for EVs is just set up a lot better. I remember I went to this Backworld Lodge or something. It's literally like a box lounge that you can play like games in, you can literally eat in, go to the bathroom, and it has Wi-Fi. But every like gas station has this it's Tesla superchargers, Ionity, I think Allego, and then again some of these lounges. And so, what outside of Tesla that you covered, how is like the EV market shaping up in Europe? I mean, I saw a Neo battery swap station literally just being set up the other day. It was crazy just to see. So there's so many more companies coming to the market. Is there one specific company or car that you're most excited about And then maybe what is the Tesla edge that you still see from a European perspective?
I think I try to. I think it's good to see which impact Tesla had for Europe, especially because even though we still have our own charging standard and we're not switching to the Tesla one, obviously, but having the impact of everyone thinking about an EV already thinks about a Tesla. So it's not always like, okay, I drive an EV and the people have in their mind, okay, maybe it's a Tesla. But it shifted a little bit, and I think the most impact they had is trying to get all the original manufacturers to also switch pretty good into EVs. And even though Tesla still has the best value you get for the price you pay, obviously, it's still good to see that all the other manufacturers, they are focusing and getting pretty well-built EVs at the market as well. So you can see the impact they had in the last years, and also with charging infrastructure. It was like you had Tesla superchargers at the beginning with maybe 6 stores or anything, and then you're heading up to a new one and there are like 50 or something. So that's crazy how many opportunities you have right now. And they started in Europe with opening the charging network, which is a good standard as well, because if you drive like German manufactured cars, they still like guide you to Tesla superchargers as well. So they include it pretty well. And that's the best part, I would say, because having a huge network and the possibility to go from North Cape to, I don't know, the southest point in Spain, you're still able to go there fully electric, whether it's a Tesla or not. And that's a great impact they had for the last years. And it's getting way better. So compared to when we met 2 years ago, probably.
Yeah. What would you say again is probably the EV brand or EV car that you're most excited about?
That's pretty hard.
It doesn't have to be the Cybertruck.
No, it still is pretty impressive, but I think right now, from a German perspective, it's quite cool to see how brands like BMW or Volkswagen are doing pretty well with way less consumption compared to what they had the last years. So they're really focusing on paying less per kilometer, for example, but still you have to mention it. If you want to have the best car for the price you pay, in most of the time it's Tesla, at least if you buy it. So they have to think about their lease concepts and everything, but if you're considering buying a car, right now it's in most of the areas where they are with their cars, it's mostly Tesla.
Since you're a local here in Europe, what would you say, like, the media out here? So in the US, like I started this club 5.5 years ago, and we've grown to now the largest club in all of North America. And so we've seen this company like Elon sleeping on the floor, going almost bankrupt to ramping to 5,000, Model 3s in a week. But what is, like when you think of your coverage of Tesla and what the media is putting out about Tesla, like, do you feel like you need to be a voice of like, because obviously, you've experienced it. How do you feel with what the media is putting out from a European perspective versus like what you're even covering on Tesla within your channel?
Of course, I think they had a pretty tough start, especially in Europe, with all the kind of bad media or with build quality and everything, which are obviously points we are considering over here, which is panel gaps and all this stuff, but they really turned out pretty well over the years. And if you see a German build or Chinese build car, it's still a little bit difficult with the American ones, but I don't want to talk about this too long. But it's interesting in telling the people how a car works and how it's compared to others. And that's why it's easy just showing them how a car is in your daily life. And I think that's a huge impact we on YouTube or on any other media have, to tell the people it's like you buy the car and you can just like sit in there and drive it. And when we considered the last car we bought, it was for me, I was like, okay, I want to have my family, friends, or anyone just telling them to get in the car and drive wherever they want, whether it's a EV or not. And I think that's the most important point which Tesla had over the last years, to have this impact and to get to know the charging infrastructure and the well-designed kind of road mapping and everything. It worked out really well, and that's what we were trying to show to people. And that's what we are complaining about in other cars. So if we get like new cars from European markets, and if you have a bad road planning, we are like, how can you give this to someone who was never sitting in an EV? And that was a point which Tesla had from the very beginning.
So one maybe controversial question. So Model 3, or let's go Model Y from Berlin or Shanghai?
Right now, probably with the suspension and everything, it's Berlin, I would say. We had a Berlin car from the very beginning, which was not the best build quality, but right now they are doing really well.
And then to follow up, what is your favorite thing about Tesla, and maybe what is an area for improvement?
I think my most favorite thing is just how simple it is. So you can just like, you have your phone and that's it. You send the key to someone else. You have like every control just in your app. You can give it to anyone and it's just easy. They are getting a little bit worse with all those new Model 3 things, but you're getting used to it, so that's okay. But on the other hand, it's like exactly the same point because they are sometimes trying to do it too simple. And I think if you're coming from any other car, sometimes that could be the point where you're thinking like, okay, could be a little bit more like we had it for the last years. Sometimes you have to get used to it, but I think that's fine.
Awesome. Thank you, Yonas. So let's, Paul, if you could play the next video. We have Bearded Tesla up here. We're not done yet. So, but yeah, no, I guess give it up for the for Yonas and Sarah so far. But yeah, can we play the Bearded Tesla? Oh, this is it? Okay. So what's the name of your channel again? Oh, wait, you don't really have to ask. It's just look at his face, Bearded Tesla.
Cleanly shaven Tesla.
So first off, Bearded Tesla, what were you doing before you became Bearded Tesla?
I had a very boring corporate job that I loved in manufacturing. I sourced machine parts, stamp parts, forgings, castings, all in very dark, grim spaces, and I loved it.
And then what was it? I mean, obviously, you can even get into this a little bit, but what was your Tesla moment for like where you're like, hey, this is an amazing car. I want to create a whole channel called Bearded Tesla. Where was that aha moment?
Well, it's funny. So it's not funny. 2020 is when the Model Y came out, and we were going to have to wait forever for this thing. But it was March of 2020, and if you can bring your mind back to that time and the uncertainty of, do I even have a job tomorrow? A lot of things came together. A lot of people canceled their orders because they were terrified. And I became, I guess, a parasite on the side of my local service center, hoping to get matched to a car, and it happened. And I told my wife, I'm going to film this car. I bet we get 1,000 views if I put this on YouTube. And I put it on, and I don't know, it hit 1,000 views that afternoon or something. I'm like, this is crazy. And so then it was like, well, maybe we could make like a little bit of money. We could buy some accessories. And then it just completely took off from there. So all the circumstance, luck, timing, all that stuff. There's Pete's here somewhere. I saw him. But yeah, it's been an incredible ride, and such an awesome community.
And you're doing this now full time. I think you started that recently too, right?
Yeah, a year ago, I went paycheck to paycheck to do this full time.
No, and what any specific reason? Like, I mean, obviously you were already doing amazing stuff, and then what was it that just kind of turned you over to be like, hey, I want to talk about Tesla EVs all the time?
Yeah, it's in my blood. Cars are in my blood. It's not just electric cars. I grew up in a shop. My first car that I got had a blown engine, and my dad said, once you rebuild that engine, that's your car. So that's kind of a quick snapshot of how I grew up. And I always liked tech. We had a couple of Prius, and I liked where everything was going. Electric cars, I didn't think we could afford a Tesla. Then the Model 3 came out. Couldn't get my wife past the finish line on the Model 3. But then the Model Y, it was a slam dunk. So that's it.
So for some of those maybe in Europe who aren't as familiar with your channel, what is similar with Yonas? What exactly what unique perspective about Tesla do you try to bring to the community and to your viewers?
Yeah, so if you look around the room even, and you look around today, you'll see this place is loaded with families. And I'm a family guy. I have kids, I have a wife, a real life, and there wasn't a lot of that represented at the time. And I thought, you know, nobody's putting strollers in these things. Nobody's showing you how to cram 3 car seats in the thing. And that's kind of the life we live. So I thought that that would bring some value. And fortunately, to my luck, it did.
What would you say are some of the most significant benefits and challenges of being a Tesla owner in terms of practicality and convenience?
I love it. So it's really hard to get people to understand 2 things. Number one, you don't have to replace the battery every 2 years. And number 2, it doesn't take 12 days to charge it. Those things plus the affordability piece, those are very hard things to teach people who don't know. And getting that message across is really tough. On the other hand, there are people who just refuse to want to know, which is okay. They can do their thing over there. But there's so many benefits to be had with whether it's a Tesla or whether it's a Fiat or whatever else that was that you were driving, or a Volkswagen, what have you. Like, electric is the future. And if people would just give it a chance, like, I think the best way it was explained to me was, if I gave you a Model Y and the keys and I put a charger in your garage, you would not give it back to me in a month. And I think that's a really good way to, like, think about it as an owner, as many of you are, to think about, if you could put yourself in that mindset, you wouldn't give me the car back because it's that good. It just changes everything. Not going to a gas station, having a full tank every day, right? It's just different.
Yeah. One thing that we could actually ask the panel here is really just how do you see the future of Tesla and electric vehicles shaping automotive? And especially, it's obviously changed your guys' daily lives. It's not like, Sarah, you're not taking photos of some other cars. It's Tesla every day. And both, so how do you guys see the future of automotive just changing over the next couple of years? Because I would say, at least from a U.S. perspective, it feels like it's kind of slowed down, at least with the other companies. And I really believe, like Tesla, I mean, we see this robot over here. They're focused on this transition into AI and robotics. As you know, the car EV industry has really slowed down, and you see it with Lucid and Rivian and their stock, and some of these other companies as well.
Yeah, there's no question. It's a tough time right now because interest rates are high. Generally speaking, electric cars are usually more expensive than gas. There are plenty of exceptions to that. So it's tough right now for electric cars, let alone any car. But what we're watching right now is the slow death of some auto manufacturers, in my opinion. We're also watching the rise of the next generation of automotive, which is great. So we've got some companies like Kia. They haven't stopped. They're still innovating. They're still trying. They're putting out new cars, right? And then we have the likes of others that I won't mention out loud who are saying, maybe we'll go hybrid instead after spending all this money and time on electric. And you just shake your head and say, why? And at that same time, you want to go into the boardroom at Kia or in Hyundai and say, guys, keep going. You can own this. Keep going. And then you have new entrants like Rivian, who is trying to bring an affordable model to the market. And who's the next auto manufacturer that's going to appear out of all of this? I really think that in 10, 15 years, the landscape is going to look completely different than it does right now. And yeah, things are a little slow at the moment, but if you take a step back and look at the bigger picture, it's so hard not to scream, what are you guys doing? This is the death of your company. So, yeah.
So I think from a European perspective, it's a little bit more difficult because we got, on one hand, those petrol heads, which are trying to beast their cars like 250 on the Autobahn, and they don't want to get to charge a car every 100 kilometers or something. And then there is, on the other hand, a way bigger impact from China we have over here, because you have like Tesla, which appeared at the market a few years ago, but with less tolls and everything in like those taxes you have in the US with 100% on Chinese cars. We don't have this in Europe right now, so they're really pushing into the market, and it's pressure from all sides. You got like Tesla from the one hand, you got like maybe Rivian in the next years, and then you have the European companies which are all kind of struggling with making decisions and just going fully electric, still having their combustion engine cars which sell pretty well and have like more margin on them and compared to all the EV cars right now. And then you got like all those Chinese cars which are governmental supplement or anything, and then you just like have those cheap cars as well. So that will be even more tough over here. I think that's the Chinese thing is not the biggest problem in the US right now. So just for the local market, I would say. But that will be pretty interesting in the next years as well.
Full disclosure, I have, I think, 30 shares of Tesla. I'm not a TSLA guy. I'm not a Rivian guy. I'm not a Lucid guy. I don't do stocks. But that said, if you're looking at things right now as they sit, I think it's pretty obvious when you look at the infrastructure in place at Legacy, that huge burden of debt that's built to make gas trucks, gas SUVs, and then you look at the market of tomorrow and you say, who is burdened by all this infrastructure and all this debt and all this cost that's going to be able to be successful tomorrow? I think that's a really tough question for a lot of these companies to answer, and I think they're doing the best that they can. They tried to go all in on EVs, and their shareholders said, stop, please, I don't want this anymore. And they cried uncle, so now they've got to switch, and it's unfortunate.
Yeah, so I'll keep this pretty short and simple, but what I think Tesla does really well is they integrate their product into your life so seamlessly, so you don't even have to think about it. And I think that's only going to get better. Now I can just walk out, my car's charged, I have my phone, that's now my wallet and my car keys. So I think that's only going to progress to where hopefully we have, I don't know, some sort of like wireless charger we can just drive in, automatically plugs in, whether it's like a robot or it's wireless, that'd be awesome. But I think the future for Tesla is only going to be more natural to us. Like we don't have to think about it anymore. It's not just a car, it's an addition to our family. So I feel like Tesla is going to become so integrated with our daily lives that it's just another thing to us.
Yeah, I think in the very Tesla fashion, it should just work. So last question would be for you, the panel. How has the Tesla community and its events impacted your social life and network?
Yeah, events like this are incredible. Like, you get to meet so many cool people. I think it's still hard. I think, like, next year, it's X Takeover in California. Or, I'm sorry, this year, yeah. So it's like stepping away from it being only Tesla, right? Like, it's a bigger community than that. And it continues to grow. And, like, I'm blown away. There's, I think 1,000 people plus here, which is crazy. But you get to meet so many cool people and get to talk to them and learn about their experiences. And I don't know, it's a very unique community that's very different than the car community my dad used to hang out with. So there's a nice mesh intermingling of both of those communities together, which brings this new community, which is really cool.
Yeah, it just feels like family coming to these events. When I show up, everyone's so welcoming, and people come up to me knowing my name, which is still kind of funny to me because I'm pretty low key and just a normal human, just doing cool
Simple
things.
Sarah.
Yeah, the simple Sarah, just doing cool things. But yeah, coming to these events, it just kind of gives me a new perspective on life and how I can inspire people, not to take photos of a Tesla, but just to live their life, enjoy the time that they have, right? Because our days are truly numbered, and we have 24 hours in a day. So what you do with that is special, and that should not be taken for granted. So if I can inspire people to do that, coming to these events, then yeah, I'm happy.
And it's also just like seeing all the people behind comments or anything. So it's more like getting to know each other, just talking and chatting and having the idea of everyone has the same experiences with their cars and the same kind of problems or good experiences. And also it's good to see that it's not just like all those early adopters, which were there 4 or 5 years ago. It's also that if someone bought a car yesterday, they could also attempt over here because they are also pretty well known and they are also pretty into the topic and they want to just talk about it, and get to know each other to have this community aspect, which is pretty cool.
Well, I'm gonna end this session by answering my own question. You know, for me personally, like just being able to even be here with people I know from America, people I met 2 years ago. The Tesla community is by far the most unique, one of the most unique communities really in the world, especially if you've been around the bend. I mean, I know there's even some bigger OGs out here. You know, I really came onto the scene in 2018, but you know, during those days, it was insane media just hating on the company. I had people like 2 exits up the street trying to show autopilot going into a wall. And you know, when you drive the car, you know that's just all fake news. And so you really, when you experience driving a Tesla and seeing it go through that, that's what really brought a lot of us together. Now I'm coming out to Austria, and I've been to Europe 3 times. I've been here twice. So it's just been to one of those things where I feel like a brother, especially with all of you guys, really close with a lot of the other Tesla owners, presidents, but even really Tesla owners of Austria has really made this feel like home. And so, you know, this has just impacted my social life, you know, feeling like I can go anywhere in the world and meet other like-minded people. I mean, we may not all do the same things during the day, but, you know, when we come to things like this, we are brought together. And it's really, again, it's very, very unique. So this is special. Again, I'm so excited that the Tesla Takeover is happening in Europe and that this is all happening. So thank you guys. Thank you, Yonas, Sarah, and Bearded Tesla for coming. I can't say Yonas. I'm not going to thank you on this, but for traveling across the pond and 2 hours up the road. But thank you guys for spending your time, for promoting this event, and really just making this happen. So I'm going to hand this off because I think we've been going a little long. But thank you guys so much. I hope you guys have a blast the rest of the day, and enjoy the Tesla Takeover Europe 2024.